Hey guys, Justin here. Today I want to go over all of the gear that I brought with me on a 3-day solo backpacking trip in the Canadian Rockies. The goal of the trip was to go fast and light while also being prepared for a lot of crazy weather that was forecasted and some pretty intense wildlife situations. I'm going to go over all the gear that I brought with me, why I brought with me, and how it performed on the trail. First up, let's start with my worn weight, the gear that I was wearing on my body. We have my Outdoor Research full brim waterproof hat here. Because it was supposed to rain all weekend, I just wanted a waterproof hat to keep the rain off my face and shoulders, as well as I brought a pair of sunglasses. It was sunny a few times during the trip. These aren't the sunglasses I brought with me. The ones I brought with me I lost, but I replaced them with these Shady Rays. And Shady Rays has an awesome policy where if you lose or break your sunglasses, they'll send you a new pair for free. So that's gonna be awesome because I seem to lose my sunglasses every single year, and now I'll just get a new pair for free from them. And then for my shirt, I have an Arc'teryx Alaho long sleeve button-up shirt. So this has a nice collar to keep the sun off your neck. It's quick dry, really lightweight, and I like that the button-up is a little bit breathable and you can roll the sleeves up. And for my shorts, I have my Patagonia Baggies 5-inch shorts here. So good range of motion, can hike with them. They're quick dry, so when they did get wet, they dried really, really quickly just with my motion and hiking. And then on my feet, I was wearing my Ultra King MT shoes. So these are a fairly lightweight shoe. They're trail runner and they did really well on the trail. They're a little bit more technical and there's some really technical spots on the trail where I was traversing scree slopes in really rooty and rocky terrain. So these were really nice to have on this trip. The last piece of worn gear that I had was my Garmin Fenix watch. And this is one of my favorite pieces of gear. It made it on my 2019 favorite pieces of gear list. And I use this the entire trip to track my pace, how much time I had left each day, what the kilometers were that I had done and what I had left. I was also able to take a look at the elevation profiles on the watch based on the routes that I uploaded. And each day I had to summit a big pass and I was able to take a look at where I was on the elevation gain in order to achieve those passes. And that was really, really nice in order to set good paces throughout the day because I was really trying to push my limits and hike fast. So next up, let's talk about my fanny pack. This is the Mountain Equipment Co-op fanny pack. It's like $15, really ultralight and really cheap, which is nice. And in it, I kept a bunch of snacks as well as some safety items. So I kept a bear horn, which I used a couple times when I was in a bit more remote locations where I felt like I was in bear habitat. So I'd honk this. And apparently it can scare bears away from up to a mile away. So this was nice to have. I didn't see any bears on the trip, even though it is big time bear country. And I attribute that to talking loudly while hiking as well as bringing the bear horn and using it. I also kept my Garmin InReach in there. So I really liked having my safety items in my fanny pack because if I took my pack off for whatever reason, I still had everything with me because my fanny pack just stays around my waist and I can bring that with me for going to the outhouse, going to get some food from the bear lockers. And it was just nice to have this extra little bit of carrying capacity outside of my pack. On my fanny pack, I also kept my bear spray. So I brought the smaller of the bear sprays that you can get out there. And I had this just on me all the time, like I said, in bear country. So bear spray is one of your #1 tools to use if you do end up in an encounter. But my goal was to avoid bears as much as possible. So I used a whole bunch of strategies for avoidance. So I guess now we can jump into the pack. So let's take it off and we'll open it up and see what's inside. So I'm carrying everything in this REI Flash 55 pack. This is one of my favorite pieces of gear and my all-time favorite pack that I've ever used. And the big reason for that is these water bottle pockets it has on the side here. So each water bottle pocket is a little bit more forward than traditional side pockets, which you can see right here. And because of that, it's really easy to reach back and grab your water. So I was able to grab my water without having to contort my shoulder, take a drink, and it was really awesome to have this pack with these water bottle pouches. And then another thing I kept on the outside of my pack is an umbrella. I hate having to stop, take my pack off, put my rain jacket on, and then put my pack back on whenever it starts or stops raining. So I like being able to just pull out the umbrella, put it up when it's raining, and then put it down again when it stops raining and put it away. It's really nice just to have it quick access on my shoulder strap here. And because it was intermittent rain all weekend, it was really awesome to have. Then in my side pockets here, I kept a lot of snacks. I did not stop for lunches at all while on the trail for this trip. So I just kept a whole bunch of snacks in the side pockets and snacked throughout the day. And that allowed me to keep moving and cover a lot of distance really quickly. And then in my right side pocket, I have my poop trowel. So this is the Vargo titanium poop trowel. It has serrated edges here, which where I was hiking was really nice because it was really rooty ground, and this was great to have. It's my favorite trowel, as well as my tent stakes, then my TP and soap, and that's it in the right side pocket. Then the left side pocket, we have my hydration kit. So in here, I have a CNOC water bladder. So this is my dirty bag for water. And then I pump that dirty water through a Sawyer filter. And then in there, I also have a coupler and then an extra lid for my water bottles, just in case I lose one. It's always nice to have an extra lid in your water kit here. I also kept a pair of trekking poles with me, and I kept these for when I was ascending those mountain passes, but I actually lost these on day one, which is kind of unfortunate because they're also the trekking poles that I was going to use to pitch my tent. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to the tent, but suffice it to say, I didn't end up using trekking poles at all on the entire trip, even though they would have been useful for those really steep inclines and steep declines around the mountain passes. Then on the back of the pack, we have my rain jacket with it, which is a Frog Togs Ultralight 2 rain jacket. Really nice, super lightweight, super cheap, and I didn't use it very much, more for warmth and a little bit during some rainy times, but it's a nice rain jacket, and for like 20 bucks, it's really nice just to throw in your pack and bring with you. I also brought a Z-seat. So this is one of my favorite pieces of gear. You can sit on it, you can stand on it for changing. It's just an all around really nice thing to keep, and will keep you warm a little bit if you throw it underneath your sleeping pad. And then because it was raining, I brought an ultralight tarp as well. So this is the Light Outdoors 10x10 Sil Poly tarp. And the reason why I brought this tarp and didn't just rely on my tent is because my tent's made out of sil nylon and this tarp's made out of sil poly. And sil poly absorbs half as much water as sil nylon. So I knew it was gonna be raining every single day. I didn't wanna be packing up a soaking wet tent, and even if I was wringing it out, shaking it, with sil nylon, I'm not getting a lot of that water weight out, whereas sil poly, it's a lot easier to get the water weight out. So that's it for items on the outside of my pack. The Flash 55 also has a brain here, and in the brain, I kept a few things like my first aid kit, Nightcore NU25 headlamp, and this top brain is waterproof, so I was able to keep things in here and not have to worry about it getting wet. And then also my ditty bag with some earplugs, lip chap, and some miscellaneous other items for around camp. Anchor 6700 milliamp hour battery bank, so this lasted me the entire trip. I didn't get through probably half of it, but it kept my camera charged, my inReach charged, watch charged, and phone charged. Then I also kept a mini Bic lighter for any fires I need to start, as well as for lighting my stove at camp. So now we can start getting into the good stuff on the inside of the pack. So the Flash 55 is a roll top pack, which is really nice. It's my preferred way to have a pack. And right at the top, I kept my food. So let's just put the pack aside here for a second, and we can open up my food bag. And I brought just this 20-liter sil nylon dry bag for my food bag, and I was able to store this in the bear lockers, as well as hang it in the bear hangs, which some of the campsites had. And inside, I kept my toothpaste and toothbrush, just some ultralight stuff here, as well as some food. That's just a bag of random stuff symbolizing food. I brought my titanium spoon by Tokes, as well as a 1 liter Evernew ultralight titanium pasta pot. I like having the 1 liter capacity of this pot because I can set it up on the stove and actually cook things in it, as opposed to just boiling water and putting it into a bag. I dehydrate a lot of my own food, and I then cook it inside of this pot. And it has a snap-on lid, which is quite nice. And then inside, I keep an ultralight towel, a little scrubby for cleaning the pot out. My MSR Pocket Rocket 2 stove is what I brought with me. I recently upgraded to MSR Pocket Rocket Deluxe, and you can take a look at that in my new gear for 2020 video, which I'll post a link to in the video description here. And then a small fuel canister. So this is just the 210 gram fuel canister, and I bring an ultralight cloth just to dry everything out. And then we can jump into what's inside the pack. And then right in the top of the pack, I keep my tent. right underneath the food. Usually when I get to camp, I put my food into the bear locker or hang it up and then go to camp and set up my tent. So I keep that right at the top of the bag so it's quick access. And I have here the 3FUL Lanshan 1 person tent. So this tent is not the pro version, so it's the double walled version, and it's really nice for a 1 person tent, really inexpensive. I don't have to worry about breaking it, but it's also really ultralight and can be set up with only 1 trekking pole. The problem for me is that I did not have my trekking poles for that first or second night, so I ended up having to use a stick. And I got really lucky. I found a stick that was 120 centimeters long right away, and it pitched the tent no problem, and I had no issues with stability or rain or anything, so that was really nice to have. And then underneath the tent, I kept my clothes bag, so just kept this in another stuff sack here. So I brought with me the Mountain Hardwear Ghost Whisper down jacket, super ultralight down jacket, one of the most popular down jackets out there, and it's a really nice full zip hooded jacket, and I didn't use it too much. It didn't get too cold, but I did wear it around camp a little bit and it kept me warm. As well, in my clothes bag, I brought some Patagonia Capilene long johns. I didn't really wear these around camp very much, but they're nice to have to sleep in because it did get a little bit chillier, probably down to just below freezing every single night. And then I brought a Mount Equipment Co-op grid fleece long sleeve shirt for keeping warm around camp as well as to sleep in, and a red merino wool toque. So this toque and that shirt are what I wore around camp and changed into. It was nice to have nice dry clothes afterwards because at the end of the day, most of the time my shirt and shorts were kind of wet, especially my shorts because they were not able to stay underneath the umbrella as easily. And then I also brought a second pair of socks. So these are what I slept in. When I was around camp, I didn't actually switch my socks out. What I would do is I would take my shoe off, take out the insoles, let the insoles dry, and then wear the shoes. And in that way, my shoes dried really quickly, the insoles dried really quickly, and my socks actually dried by the time I went to bed. So that was just a nice way to keep everything dry, and I highly recommend taking your insoles out of your shoes if you're trying to dry them. And then we're getting into my sleep system. So first up is the Trekology 2.0 pillow. My favorite pillow. It has a pad strap here to wrap around your pad and keep the pillow in place. And I think sleep is super important, especially if you're pushing your limits, and a pillow helps me sleep like a baby, especially this Trekology, my favorite pillow for sure. And then we have the Sea to Summit Etherlight XT sleeping pads. So this is the men's size large, and it just fits inside the tent, but is super comfortable, most comfortable pad I've ever used, and is good for temperatures down to around freezing. So I was nice and toasty warm on this. And then I also brought a quilt. So for that trip, I had the Thermarest Vesper 20-degree quilt. So that's 20 degrees lower limit. It actually has a freezing comfort limit. So I was just warming up with this quilt, but I actually replaced this quilt this year, and I'm going to be using an Enlighten Equipment 20-degree Enigma. And the Enigma has a comfort limit of 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to be much toastier with the Enigma than I was with the Vesper, and I'm really looking forward to that. But the Vesper did okay on this trip and is still a really good quilt if you're only going down to around freezing. And then to keep everything dry, I used just a contractor's bag to stuff everything into. Because it was raining the entire time, I didn't want to chance anything, and I kept it all in this bag, even though things like my quilt were in dry bags. And that's all the gear that I brought on the trip. It all did really well. I stayed warm, stayed dry, stayed safe, and it ended up being a really amazing trip. I'll post links to the 3-episode series I did on that trip. You guys can go check that out, as well as links to all of this gear that I talked about if you want to pick it up. Those links will also be in the video description. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.